than 5 days. 5 is a lot. 3. That is something I can show you right here. You have big players like mini bakeries, and I can quickly tell you from this application, from this attachment, that this is also compliant. This is a bag they're renewing. The bag is there with all the required details. The caps permits are all here. You see that? Very valid. The take-back mechanism is covered because they have a KPRO certificate here. So even this, I think within 2-3 days it was all approved, just awaiting some signature. Yes, so that is it. That is it. Now this is an invoice, I'm not sure. Oh, I showed you in the presentation. So with all those many comments and remarks, may I now say asanteni sana again. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Eric and I represent Bakers East Africa. We are based in Loiru, Sukari Industrial Estate, behind Dr. Mattress, where we deal with both flour and bakery ingredients. This morning, I'll take you through my presentation, which is based on ensuring quality in bakery operations. In terms of the outline, we'll ask ourselves, what is quality? Quality control versus quality assurance. We need to understand the difference between the two. Bakery operations management. What do we check within the bakery in terms of management of a bakery? And then areas of quality focus in a bakery. And then specifically, I want to focus on the raw materials and ingredient supply. And then benefits of quality assurance and control. You might realize that quality is sometimes upon the expectations of what do we expect, and then the fit for functions. There are people who say quality is good purpose, is fit for human consumption, is value for money. And again, different people have different perspectives of quality, and depends on where you are. Like in an organization, people assume quality, that being a market leader means your products are quality. So they associate market leadership with quality products, meaning that you're making higher profits, you are making good shares. It also depends also meeting specifications. We have certain specifications that act as our guideline within our operations. And these specifications, we can have two types of specifications. Some are defined by the regulatory agents. Like we have standards that guides us on what to do. You can also have what you call the company's specifications that really actually want to exceed the expectations of your consumers. Then you have customers' perspective. What does the customer say? What is quality? And the customer will say that I'm getting a good service from the organization. I'm getting a good product from the organization. They can also say that the product is free from deficiencies. It doesn't have any foreign matter. It doesn't have defects, and it's safe. And the customer says also, wow, it's a wow effect. The product is good. So that's from a customer's perspective. And then the supplier's perspective, who are your suppliers. You can have, the product is complying with the COAs, the buyer, and also doing it right for the first time. So there is also timely delivery. There's other perspectives that are not captured within my presentation. And there is also employee and employee's perspective. What does the employee say? It's quality. Some employees can say it's quality because I'm getting a good paycheck. I'm getting something to take home. The environment where I'm working is good. That's from an employee's perspective. Yeah? The others can say, who are your neighbors? Or the other stakeholders who can say, talk about quality. Your neighbors can say that there is no pollution from the factory. There is no noise from the factory because they're doing quality work. So quality perspective depends on the person. But what we share is that when you're talking about product quality, the first thing is that plan what you want to do. Do what you plan to do. Then check. And then act. So we call it a PDCA cycle. which defines quality. So quality is very key in what you do in the organization. So the difference between quality control and quality assurance, these two terms actually, sometimes they use interchangeably within the organization. Quality assurance, I'll say, is becoming more proactive. It's becoming more focused on prevention of defects. So you are monitoring step by step within your organization. Meaning that you know the quality of your raw materials, you know the COAs, you are checking the specs of your raw materials. You are checking the process step by step until the end of the finished product. Whereas quality control, you focus on identification of such defects. So when KEPS comes to your organization, Kenya Bureau of Standards are doing quality control. They are just picking a sample to go and verify whether it's meeting the requirements. When your lab within your organization is making a final product, they are checking whether the product is meeting the final, the specs. So quality assurance is what I'll emphasize that bakers need to focus on. Please monitor your process. Become proactive. Check each stage of your process. And actually you won't be surprised. So you realize that those people who focus on quality control are the ones who are surprised and ask themselves what happened. The bread did not rise. What happened? Those people actually are focusing on quality control. But if you focus on quality assurance, you check the quality of flour, you check the quality of your yeast, you check on all parameters of your oven, so you would be surprised. So you would ask what happened. And that defines now, you can see that within a quality system, quality assurance takes a big role or takes a big percentage of your work. In terms of bakery operations, majority of the operations within bakery focuses on several aspects or several activities. The first thing you realize that you have to have what you call a production planning. What is your planning for the week? What is your planning for the day? And what is your focus? Sometimes as suppliers of ingredients, we usually face challenges. Because someone tells me, I need yeast and now I have nothing to use. It tells you those people are not doing their focus, they are not doing their production planning. And actually it's like you keep on firefighting to make sure the delivery is on time. And remember, they'll perceive you and they'll base your quality of delivery based on the delivery time. You can have raw materials and ingredient supply, which I'll focus on later. And then you have production management, then engineering and maintenance. Is a very key parameter to make sure that you deliver a quality product. When do you service your ovens? Do you have a service schedule for your ovens? Do you have spares ready for your ovens? Or do you buy the spare when the oven has broken down? Do you calibrate your oven? Meaning that the temperature is showing on the board, is it the same temperature that is inside the oven? So it's good to calibrate. The personnel management, your staff, do they have medical examination? Are they renewed? Those are some of the aspects. Are they in uniform? Are they covering their hair to avoid any physical contaminants to the product? Continuous improvement. Are you identifying areas of improvement within your bakery? Is it the floor? Is it the roof? Is it the walls? Quality assurance, which I've mentioned there. Then there's a plant sanitation, which is very key in terms of sanitation. How are you handling your waste management? How are you handling your pest control? So that comes to the sanitation of the plant. In terms of our operations, which is the plant economics control, are you able to do your costing well to determine whether bakery is profitable? Then in terms of support, do you have an R&D team that is focusing on developing new products? Because the industry is very competitive. So those are some of the operations that can interfere with your quality products that you want to deliver to your consumers. I said I'll focus on raw materials. And raw materials, the reason why I want to focus on raw materials is because it is the first item that you engage yourself in. Remember, garbage in, garbage out. Meaning that you have to establish ingredient specifications for each product that you are receiving in your bakery. Do you have specifications? Do you have COA? Do you receive products with COAs? Sometimes people get surprised when they get the baker's flour, but they don't know actually the type of baker's flour they're getting. They just receive the flour with the invoice, but they don't even know the gluten in that, the type of the quality of gluten in that flour. They don't even know the development time of that flour. But since they have set their machine that is 3 minutes slow speed, 4 minutes high speed, possibly the kind of flour you received, the gluten is weaker. So you end up messing your gluten, and when you now put the blood for proofing, it starts collapsing. Because you are not understanding the key raw material or the key ingredients you have in your bakery. So it's very important to you, always when you receive your flour, ask for a COE. It will tell you on how to set your equipment. In terms of accepting and rejecting, you have a rejection on acceptance criteria. Have you put that these are the specifications, that if the product does not meet these specifications, you reject it? And do you have an agreement to the supplier that in case of any loss, you will pass the loss to him? Those are some of the things you need to set up in your bakery. You will also implement a corrective action and close any gaps. Sometimes it's that we struggle with the product and actually we inherited the problem from someone else. You struggle to have a corrective action to make it work. And you say, since it has failed to give you this product, you convert it to a different product. Those are some of the things that can help you if you put in what you call specifications of the product. And then make sure that you record all out of specification incidences. When you record out of spec incidences, it helps you to communicate to your supplier that within this year or within this month, I've had out of specs 4 out of 10 deliveries. So it will tell you now about the type of the supplier that is easier in a bakery. It's very easy using the alphabets, and you avoid the D, J, N, V, X, Y, Z. Meaning that, like when you go to the bakery, A stands for air and water quality. What type of water are you using? Is the water chilled? Is the water warm? Is the water hot? Because if the quality of water also determines your end product. I know we have K, which is a kill step within the oven. But mark you, if you have water which is contaminated with coliforms and the kill step is not very effective, you'll end up having some counts when the KEBS take samples from you and it will be non-compliant. So look at each alphabet because it matters a lot. 14, do you have traceability? If I tell you the batch number, what time was the bread produced? Are you able to trace the bread right from the market? Do you have a recall procedure that when the product goes to the market, how do you recall it from the market? Do you have personal practices or product inspection for people? So this helps you even for glass policy. Do you have a glass policy within the environment? So this helps you to remember in terms of the processes of managing quality within your premises. And like for H for hazard, which stands for hazard analysis, critical control point. Have you identified your CCPs within the organization? What are your critical control points and what are your control points? Because both are important in minimizing the hazards that can occur within your process. And we have 3 types of hazards. You can have a biological hazard, you can have a chemical hazard, and you can have a physical hazard, which needs to be protected. And physical hazards are referred to something like the hair. Is your staff covered with the ones packing the bread and their hairs covered? Because the moment I see traces of hair within the paper bread, that's a physical hazard. It cannot cause death, but it's a nuisance. It tells me the kind of quality control within your premises. If I see possible bolts, they're also physical hazards. It tells me about the maintenance about your organization. I might not see things like microbial, but when KEBS does analysis and they reject your product, it tells you about your process. So those are some of the things. Where do you keep your detergents? Are they the smell detergents? Do they have perfume? Because if you keep detergents and perfume near where you are packing your bread absorbs perfumes. And as you realize, even supermarkets, those food products are kept away from perfumes. So in terms of the benefits of quality assurance and control, the moment you have a good quality assurance system within your place, number 1, you'll have what you call improved stock management. You won't have issues of firefighting and calling bakers and say, I need 5 cartons of bread improver now. We have nothing to use. And possibly in Mombasa. And you want me to put one in Anisani town and the other one I courier via the courier system. You will avoid that. The second is that you'll be guaranteed of product consistency. You will not have worries when you're out there that your system can have flaws. It means that your customers will minimize the complaints. And then you have reduced risks of errors leading to waste production. Because sometimes you can have so much waste by the virtue that the system is not controlled. And also you have a platform for automation. You'll be able to be identifying what are the gaps, what are the areas of improvement within my facility, where do I need to improve? And then you have evidence of compliance and due diligence. Mostly the regulatory agents, before even they check the system, there's question of show me. Show me is the evidence, and that's what Francis was asking me. Show me is the evidence. Show me that you are saying that you do all this. Show me. You are saying that your staff have medical examination. Show me. And we are very easy to identify. If you have 10 staff and you only show me 2 medical certificates, I'll also ask you where is the medical certificates for the rest. So show me is an issue of compliance becomes easy when evidence is there. So make sure that you keep all your records and file them in an organized manner. So improved documentation helps for structure for a quick audit. And some of the documents even the regulatory agents ask, the moment you keep neatly and you make sure that they are authentic, you don't have issues of non-compliance, and it becomes easy, and just like been told, within 3 days, you'll have gotten a clearance. That's it for quality assurance, and thank you so much.
So I'd like to introduce myself, as she's introduced me. I am Esther Ngugi. I work for a company called Mulenkemi. Mulenkemi is a company that is a subsidiary of Stan BVOA Group in Germany, Hamburg. And specifically, Mulenkemi deals with flour treatment and flour fortification. So I will dive into my slide because we don't have too much time. So as you see the presentation there, Mulenkemi is a flour optimization company. We were established in 1923, so we have the experience in the flour industry. Then our head office is in Hamburg, Germany. Then it's a parent company of the Stan BVOA Group in Hamburg. And our specialization is flour improvement, flour fortification, application services, flour analysis, and also we do a lot of training. Because of course, we cannot give you something and we don't train you on how to use it. So we are very strong in the training department. Sorry. Okay, sorry. All right, that's better. So, our company is in very many countries. We are a global leader in flour fortification and treatment. As you can see, we are all over the world. All the blue dots and the light blue dots and the dark blue dots are the places where we all are. So we cannot. We have the manpower and the ability to service all our customers. Then in Kenya, we have a technology center. And we use the name Stan Ingredients, which is a legal entity name. It's called Stan Ingredients East Africa. We opened our offices in November 2021, and we're located right here in Westlands. And we have a good floor space, and we have a very good state-of-the-art laboratory, which includes a laboratory and a bakery, fully equipped. And then we also have a highly qualified team. I can see some of my teammates. Just so David will to the stage. Yes, so those are our offices. We have the laboratory, we have the bakery. Then in all these facilities, we pride ourselves in product development. We have customer trainings. We hold them once every often for our new customers and also for our already existing customers. Then we do flour evaluation. Like my colleague from Bakery mentioned, it is very, very important to know the kind of flour you're using. You don't just pick a flour, put it in your mixer and decide, oh, today I'm going to make bread or today I'm going to make cake. So you need to be very, very careful with the quality of flour that you're using. We also help a lot in troubleshooting. If our customers come and tell us we have a difficulty in our flour, the wheat that is being produced. We also help in the troubleshooting, and we assist in what we're going to do to improve the quality of our flour. And we have very many other functionalities that we do and very many other services that we offer at our Stan Ingredients Technology Center. So I'll dive into my short presentation about baking basics in bread making. I know bread is a very important staple food in our community. Like the first thing everyone goes for is bread in the morning. Bread and margarine, bread and butter, bread and jam. And it's very important to know the little key points that you need to be able to make a proper loaf. So as we all know, the main ingredients in the bread baking is, to get a good bread, you more or less need 5 ingredients. But the most important one, as we all know, is the flour. So you must make sure you have good quality flour. It's very important because it plays a very significant role. Then the second one is yeast. So yeast is also very good, is also very important ingredient in the baking of bread, because yeast is what helps your bread raise. So as it was mentioned earlier, if you don't have good quality yeast, you will definitely not have a good quality bread. Then we also have salt. Salt is also very, very important in bread making. Whether you use a lot or very little, it is very, very important because it helps in the taste and improving the flavor, and also helps in strengthening the gluten network. For example, if you want to do a trial, you can, when you go home, if you're a bread baker, you can try and make a dough with salt and one without salt. You will see a very, very big difference. So salt is also very important. And mostly, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, those who are bread bakers here, in Kenya we use between 1 and 1.5% of salt, which is calculated based on the weight of your flour. So all these other ingredients, flour being the main ingredient, everything else is calculated based on the weight of the flour. So our fourth most important ingredient is water. Water is what helps in all the binding of all the ingredients, and it also helps in freshness and the softness. So if you have a very hard dough, you will not have a very good breadcrumb structure. If you have a very soft dough, you will have a very open crumb structure in your bread. Then we also have sugar, for those who like sugar in their bread. Sugar is also an important ingredient, although some people, like the French baguettes, do not need salt, the crusty rolls don't need sugar, sorry. So sugar also helps in the fermentation, and then it's also used, yeast and sugar work together, so yeast helps, is a food, sugar is food for the yeast. Then we also have fat. Fat also helps in the increasing of the extensibility, also it helps in the softness, and it also helps in the extension of shelf life of your baked products. Water is very important. Sometimes I get questions from bakers and they ask, oh, when I'm making my chapati or making my bread, should I use warm or cold water? So the best temperature of your water should be between 25 and 27 for a sandwich bread. And then for a French baguette, the crusty balls, it should be between 22 and 24. So below you can see some photos there. The first photo, the bread was mixed, the dough was mixed with 20 degrees temperature of water, then the 25 degrees and 30 degrees centigrade Celsius of water. So the middle bread, you can see, gave the best results. So I would advise, if you're a baker, you can invest in a water cooling facility. If you don't have that, you can always make your own ice cubes using your fridge. Then you can put the ice cubes in water before you mix your dough. That will help to get a nice standard quality dough temperature. So we dive into the mixing process. Could anyone tell me what kind of a mixer is best for your bread dough? We have two types of mixers. We have a planetary and a spiral mixer. Anyone? I can see someone mouthing something. Anyone who knows the best type of mixer? Yes? Yes, it's a spiral mixer. So the difference between a spiral mixer and a planetary mixer is the spiral mixer, the hook is what moves around. So that is the hook. That is what moves around. But for a planetary mixer, what moves around is the bowl. But the best one for making bread is a spiral mixer because the hook goes and passes those and helps in proper gluten division. Then you have the kneading process. During the kneading process is where you have your gluten formation. So water mixes with the dough and the other ingredients. And then gas is trapped into the dough that helps in the formation of proper gluten. Then we have three ways you can mix your dough. So there's a short mixing time, there's a normal mixing time, and there's an oven kneading. So when you oven knead, when you don't mix your dough during the proper mixing time. So when the mixing time is too short, you have very many things that can go wrong. So your dough becomes very firm, and then you have very short gluten. So if you're doing your gluten test, which is a window method, you find that your dough breaks before it even stretches. I'll show you the proper dough window method. Then you get that your bread volume will be very low because the gluten will be very tight. Thus, your bread will not rise properly. Then we have, if you knead your dough for too long, there'll be very, very good extensibility. That for sure you will get. But then, your gluten network will be destroyed. Then the dough will be very sticky. You may have had the proper recipe of your bread. Then if you overmix it, your dough becomes very sticky. And then now you'll notice your water will start being released from the dough. So that's why the dough looks very sticky and a bit watery. Then we have the perfect dough kneading time. So if you knead your dough the perfect way, perfect time, you get your gluten formed properly. So your yeast produces proper gas and all those processes that start. So in the second picture, after the 2 minutes of resting time, you will have a very good gluten formation. So you can do your Windows tests and you'll be able to see what you can see in the image number 2. Then the influence of mixing time. Remember, there's a short mixing time, there's a longer mixing time, and there's a normal mixing time. So what you get is, if your mixing time is very short, that's the kind of bread you're going to get. So you lose volume and the structure of your crown will not be good. Then when you go longer in your mixing time, that's what you get. You will get a bread that has got holes because now you've already overworked the gluten, and at some point, the sides of the bread will start collapsing because your gluten is already big. Then we have the perfect mixing time. That's what you get after the perfect mixing time. You get a breadcrumb that is almost very homogeneous. You do your molding properly. Then we have another important equipment I forgot to mention. In your bakery, you should have your weighing scale. You should have a mixer, spiral mixer. You should have a prover, and you should have an oven. Those are the 4 main equipment that you should have in your bakery to be able to produce proper bread. So that's a prover, and in the prover, you need to have the proper temperature and humidity. So these go hand in hand. So for those I can see who are taking notes, so the proper humidity in your oven, in your prover, should be between 75 and 85. And then the proper temperature should be between 28 degrees and 32 degrees. Sometimes when you have very high humidity in your prover, what happens is, if you want to do a shred cut is like what you saw earlier in the baguette. When you want to slice your baguette, you won't get a nice shred cut. It won't come out nice because the dough is already very wet on the top. And then if your prover is too hot and the humidity is very low, you will get bread with a skin. So when your bread forms a skin on top, it will not have a nice open spring when you're baking it in the oven. So if you look at these two things, you can notice that. Then the next one is proving time also, which is very important. So the first bread, I don't know whether my pointer can show that. So the first bread was overproved. So overproving is when you put if you're supposed to prove your bread for 60 minutes and go for 80 minutes, you will get a nice volume at the beginning. So So that is what you get. But then after baking, when you slice the bread, you notice the difference. Then this is a lower proofing when you underproof your bread, and then that's a perfect proofing. So this is the first 5 minutes of your baking time. So this is very important when you're doing bread. The first 5 minutes is when you get your nice volume and your crust forms. So those are the breads after baking, the different proofing times. So the first one is the overproof, second one is the underproofed, and the third one is the normal proofing. Then also your baking temperature and time in your oven depends on your flour quality. It also depends on the type of baked goods you're baking. So baking an 800 gram loaf and a 400 gram loaf takes different times and you need different temperatures. And the product weight, like I mentioned, if it's 800, if it's 400, if it's 200, depends, the temperature depends on what you're baking. Then also your oven system. We have the convection oven and we have the analog oven. So if your oven has got steam and your products need steam, then baking temperature will be quite different. Then we have a couple of bread faults. I couldn't put all of them in a slide. So if you would like to know, if you're a bread baker and you'd like to know what is happening to your bread and you're not sure, you can ask me after the presentation. But those are a few bread faults or you can have in your bakery. Sometimes you have the problem with shape. When the volume is too small, then also when the flour is too big, like we mentioned, you need to have very high quality flour if you're doing your pastry and your breads. Then also if your dough is not well relaxed, you will definitely not have a good bread shape. So your suggestion is to go, I would suggest you go for stronger flour, which is high in protein. Then you keep your dough soft and prove it longer. So if you prove it longer and the specific right proving time, you will get a good shape bread. Then we have excessive crust browning. Those are just a few of the mistakes that can happen in the bakery. We have, if your dough is too firm, the porosity of your dough is too firm, you will need to maybe add more water or knead it longer or add something else that will help in your loosening your dough. Then we also have, if your bread has got large pores, then probably your dough was too warm. Remember, if you have a warm dough, how to correct that is using cold water. So you can go through the suggestions and you can if your dough is not well worked, it will be tight. Then run your dough more firmly. When you mold it, it's very important to mold the bread properly so you can get nice homogeneous pores. So I'd like to mention one of the best improvers that we have from Lenkemi that helps to solve all these problems. We call it a giant. It's a giant. So I'm actually having one sachet here. So this one sachet is 10 grams. So these 10 grams, if you're a baker, you just take the 10 grams and pour it into your 50 kgs of flour. So the best thing about this improver is you don't need to scale, because if you're doing batches of 50 kilos, you just put in the whole thing. So you will have, the improver will give you a better volume, optimize your extensibility, improve your browning, and prolongs your shelf life. Then also it's functional at the top, basic treatments. And on the top stuff are basic treatments. So if you're having problems with the volume of your bread or stability, you can always put this in your dough, in your flour. Then the dosage is, as written there, is 10 kgs per 10 grams per 50 kilos of flour, which is like 200 ppm. So that was just a trial I had done. So I took the same flour, which is a baker's flour, and then did a trial with our giant and an improver from a different company. So number one was the X-improver, then number two was the giant improver. So this was just normal baker's flour. Take it from the supplier, put it in your blender, then put your ingredients and have the giant and one of the giant. So you can see the results. So we have the normal group, that's for number one, the X, the number two is our giant. Then we have overproof, which is whereby if your proofing time is probably 60 minutes, so by the time, if it's So this oven will be 60 plus these 30 minutes.
you.